As you can go.
Oh, whoa, I just heard it. Whoa.
Welcome back to the Select Start Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Ace, and we're back again. Week 6 is in the books. We will get you guys caught up on all the haps of Week 6 and then foreshadow to Week 7. First, we have the commission in the house, Nye. Those of you that don't know, that's Ian spelled backwards. He is riding a 2-game win streak. How are we doing, commish?
We're getting there.
Okay.
I got a tough couple next few weeks, so we're getting there. It's not about me.
He's taking the humble approach. Kosher Killer is back. Hasn't exactly turned that bagel into a breadstick yet, but I have a feeling Week 7 is your week, my guy. How you doing?
Man, I am the Adam Gase of this league. My team is not performing up to standard, and just like Adam Gase and the New York Jets fans, I do not have any of the loyalty of any Jets players.
Yeah, for some reason, they can't fire you from head of the team.
For real.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're that bad.
They should. Someone should get rid of that joke of a coach.
Maybe they should be calling you B.O.B. anyways.
Right?
Big Baller Edgar, lying full effect, back to his winning ways. How we doing, Ed?
Miles Sanders is out. That's how I'm doing. That's exactly how I'm doing. And you ask, Miles Sanders is out for 2 to 3 weeks. I'm doing just great. Let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, you had to get that while the getting was good last week.
I sat him the last 2 weeks. What you talking about? I was about to start him.
Right. You and Miles Sanders, you guys just aren't meant to be at this point. Week 6 is in the books. There's no Tuesday game this week, thank God. There is a lot to discuss. We'll dive right in. At this point, I will pass the mic to Kosher Killer, and he'll get us caught up with the injury situation, Devin Bush, Miles Sanders, among many others.
Devin Bush is out for the season with an ACL injury. He'll be having surgery on that on Wednesday. Miles Sanders, you just heard from Big Baller. He's out a few weeks. He is week to week with a knee injury. Raheem Mostert for the 49ers is headed to the injured reserve list with a high ankle sprain.
But just a little thing that I think is important to touch on. I know some of these managers out here are probably waiting to hear on CMCs, Dalvins. You guys are probably going to have you guys back a little bit sooner than the rest of your league would like. CMC is rumored to be back after the bye week, looking like that's likely. The coach hasn't said anything firm, but it's a lot of talk going around is that Mike Davis was basically on his last week this coming week. Last week was not a good matchup for him. He got about 10 points from him, but that Chicago Bears defense, nasty. Dalvin Cook is also set to come back. Alexander Madison disappointed in one game. Dalvin should be back after the bye week, so look forward to that. And Joe Mixon, I don't actually know much about him right now. I just know he left with a chest injury, so that's an interesting one. We might even touch on that one with my waiver wire pick too.
Yeah, with Joe Mixon, that's another injury, concern. Not much has been said on that front. So Gio Bernard is one to keep an eye on.
I mean, aside from Devin Bush and the ACL, we're thinking all these injuries are, fairly mild, although Raheem Mostert, he's back in the IR. The severity of that injury, I guess we'll get more clarity on that in the next coming days.
Zach Ertz is expected to miss a few weeks as well.
Yeah.
Well, they're 2 tight ends down, right? Goddard's on the IR.
Too.
Is he on his way back this week?
Nope, he will not be back this week. Maybe next week, but definitely not this week. I told you they're going deep into the hole with players this week. Like, the John Hightowers. We might see a Quez Watkins out there. We might see an Hakeem Butler.
Let's move on to top performers. Obviously, it starts with Derrick Henry, and the only person that could stop Russell Wilson in this world is a bye week. It's weird not having to mention his name this week, but I feel equally as good about mentioning the Ryan Tannehill thrill, because my man is a real deal, and that offense looks imposing. We had some bounce back weeks from guys like Deshaun Watson. You go for 335 yards and 4 TDs, talking about spreading the wealth. Are we bumping skill positions in the Houston offense yet, guys?
I'm not yet. Nothing's really changed on this team. It was a plus matchup. And I talked about it last week about why he believed Brandon Cooks could be a plus matchup. Not a plus matchup, but why he could keep the same energy, and absolutely was on top of it, called it. But I don't love this offense yet going forward. I still think that your options are still the same guys. Will Fuller, I don't think I'm bumping up because I expect him to keep performing as he has been. Sort of a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 flex option. just because, there is that possibility that it gives you a low floor. Brandon Cooks is the same guy I talked about last week when we talked about keep the same energy. I said he can go off, but I don't want his floor. I talked about it the whole segment. I didn't want his floor, and this was a ceiling week. But do I expect every week to be a ceiling week with Brandon Cooks? Absolutely not. The tight end options there are uninspiring. David Johnson is the running back, but oh my God, I might want the other D Johnson to actually be the one getting the touches. I don't want too many of the pieces in this offense. Deshaun Watson, I expect to continue to be very productive in fantasy. I don't expect to see anything harming his production, but in terms of the rest of the options on this team, I'm not changing where I had them at. I'm going to keep them kind of where they were. I don't think too much has changed. I don't see any upgrades coming soon.
It breaks my heart. I have David Johnson. Crushing it.
Nice.
This rookie, he's been balling out. Justin Jefferson, post eight catch day, over 166 yards. Excuse me, I had to look it up real quick. 166 yards. He's been balling out. He's been fabulous. Since they actually kind of called him up and put him in the lineup, he's a definite play from here on out. Wouldn't take him out of your lineup. Look for them to be behind a lot of games, and Justin Jefferson to take advantage of a lot of that garbage time, junk yardage that we all love in fantasy football.
I would say one, Derrick Henry is just a given because
That's a given.
Yeah, that was not a little impressive. That was very impressive.
Are we avoiding the elephant in the room, like Derrick Henry? No.
Right? He's the one who stood out to me the most.
For me, I got to mention Julio Jones as a top performer, if no other reason than because I absolutely didn't have him having a week this week. I had him not playing. In my opinion, I was expecting Julio not to play at all. Then he goes out there, and the guy who doesn't score touchdowns scores his first 2 touchdowns of the season in the same game, scores 35-plus fantasy points, and makes me look like Boo Boo the Fool. So I gotta give. So I gotta call Julio Jones my performer of the week. 10 targets, 8 receptions, 137, and 2. I kind of really hope that Julio gets traded. Like those trade rumors are going out. I'd love to see Julio on a team that. Man, I want to see Julio on a contender. No offense intended. I want to see Julio on a contender.
He would look great in a Patriot uniform. I'm just saying.
He would. He sure would. Make that happen. Please make that happen. Shout out to DeAndre Swift with his 14 for 116 and 2 touchdowns too. Another rookie out there balling out. Good to see him making his way. And you know what? I'm actually surprised, Big Baller. You didn't point out Lamar Jackson actually scored more points than Derek Carr this week.
Hey, you know what? It was fun while it lasted. I figured that sooner or later I wouldn't be able to say it again. Lamar finally broke through and outscored Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Shouts to you guys.
Yeah. It had to happen during Derek Carr's bye week, though.
It's bounce back city next week. Derek Carr he's a start, guys.
All right, rookie watch. Nye, you already mentioned Justin Jefferson and his performance with his 2 touchdowns. You got guys like T. Higgins. He continued his run and solidified his role in that Bengals offense, going 6 for 125 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, but he averaged a staggering 20 yards reception. He's a big play waiting to happen. I'll pass it back to you guys. Which rookies you guys have your eye on going into week 7? I will start with Big Baller.
I'm going to hit you up with my rookie watch. It's Henry Ruggs. He's been getting low target shares, but in the few games he's played, he's shown some explosiveness. His first game of the season and then his last game back just this week, he showed the ability to break off big chunk yardage plays. And just with that kind of high ceiling potential upside, finally getting him healthy, seeing what they want, how they integrate him further and further into the offense. I think Henry Ruggs has a good back half of the season. And Jeremy Chin, safety over with the Carolina Panthers, rookie safety.
I love Jeremy Chin.
Yeah. Ian was talking about Jeremy Chin all offseason, guys.
I'm so happy you mentioned Jeremy Chin. Go ahead, finish.
But Jeremy Chin has been. This defense is getting just. They've been getting taken to town, but Jeremy Chin has not been the reason for that. He's had high tackle numbers in every single game so far. He's been all over the place. He's been a major positive on a defense that hasn't had too many positives. Last week, he finally got an interception, and with that interception, he had a fantastic week. He's got New Orleans up next, followed by a matchup with ATL and KC. So he's got a lot of passing coming his way. Some careful quarterbacks and some not so careful ones, but nonetheless, he's shown that he's got a tackle floor and big play upside. I like Jeremy Chin just as someone I'm keeping an eye on going forward. I want to see more about what Chin is made of.
Once we get into the offseason and we start ranking these guys all over again, Jeremy Chin is going to quickly appear in people's top 10 because he's playing fantastic. He is everything everybody thought Isaiah Simmons was going to be and more. It's funny because they actually thought he was the kind of the poor man's Isaiah Simmons, kind of like the knockout version. He's just coming into the system. He's knocking it out the box. I actually rostered him a few weeks ago, and he got me like 11 tackles or something like that. He didn't get me a turnover or anything like that, but it was a solid effort, and that's kind of the way he's been all year. He's just been super solid for this team. He's all over the place. You watch him on film, he is everywhere.
Not necessarily my rookie watch, but I think a guy who deserves, who this is the right spot to talk about him in. Rest of the season. Let me hear what you guys think. Chase Claypool or Hollywood Brown? Who would you rather roster? Who would you rather have on in your lineup?
That's easy. Yeah, Claypool all day, every day.
I think that's quickly becoming the answer, right? What do the rest of you guys think?
Yeah, Claypool hands down. Marquise Brown isn't in a pass-centric offense. Claypool is clearly their team's second best offensive weapon in a pass-friendly offense. It's Claypool to the bank. I won't think twice about it. Great picks, guys. We're going to jump right into pick 2. I'll start with the obvious guys. We talked Travis Fulgham and his 6 receptions, 75-yard, 1 touchdown performance. And now in the last 3 games has at least 50 yards and a touchdown. My man is streaking. And then the big news, I guess, that came out in Miami, it's Tua's time now. And Fitzpatrick's going to be backing him up. Pick 2, guys.
Sweet. So starting off, I mentioned Joe Mixon's injury, and so I'm going to piggyback off of that and hit you guys with my pick 2. I'm going to start with Giovanni Bernard, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're playing Dallas this week, so this game's got some potential to still put up points. Dallas's options, they are downgraded, but CD still had a pretty decent week. Amari got a decent week. It was garbage time, but I don't care. If I get my numbers at the end of the day, I get my numbers. So I still think that's coming up. Cincinnati's been throwing the ball a lot. They've been putting up yards. There's turnovers to be had because Joe Burrow is still turnover prone and incompletion prone. But yards are happening for the Cincinnati Bengals. I would be slightly worried that Mixon is going to be out this week, but more concerned with a troubling trend for Mixon, which has been just supreme inefficiency. If we take away his week 4, which had I believe it was a 6 yards per carry on 151 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 40-plus point performance, we're looking at a week 3 through week 5 span. His only weeks above 60% snap share, he was averaging 3.92, including week 4. So that was his boom week. Including that week, he's only averaging 3.92 yards per carry, which is barely above his season average. I really think that, and you've seen it a little bit, Giovanni Bernard had a snap rise, and you could contribute part of that to Mixon being out. But also part of it was the coach's comments. They kind of spoke about not just keeping him healthy, but also that they preferred Bernard in that 2-minute role. They've said that throughout this season, and it seems to be bearing out a little bit. I think that there's a little bit to be said for Giovanni Bernard really taking a little bit more of a role in this offense moving forward, and it seems the coaching staff might be a little bit displeased with Mixon's lack of efficiency to this point, minus 1 week 4 game. And back into my pick 2 on my other side, I'm going to be going with Emmanuel Ogbah. He's been performing pretty solidly for the Miami Dolphins for the last couple weeks. I think he's got 2.5 sacks in the last 3 weeks. And he's putting up great fantasy numbers for a defensive end. He's playing against Denver this week. Sorry, that might not be the right matchup, but Miami's got a bye this week. I'm still picking him. He's the guy. He's playing consistently enough in defensive end position, putting up the right kind of numbers that I'll hold on to him for a week to make sure I have him for the rest of my season. Emmanuel Ogbah's a pickup.
You know what? Watching that game, and then they shouted out I think he had 5 sacks on the year. It was low key like sleeper for me. Like Emmanuel Ogbah's out here, getting it. So yeah, I co-sign that pickup. You can get him off the bye if you're kind of good for this week in your IDP format. Yeah, I like it, Emmanuel Ogbah.
Okay, you got the night cosign. We'll stay with you tonight. Pick 2, my brother.
Right. And for this bye week, a lot of owners have Lamar Jackson out. So I'm going to go with Kyle Allen in their matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. I think he's, they're kind of primed to give you a plus outing. And honestly, with the matchups around, you can go with the Matthew Stafford against Atlanta. I like that matchup as well. But this Dallas defense is reeling right now. They're calling out coaches right now. I think Kyle Allen is due for like a 3-touchdown game. I think he's due for a plus 20-point game. So, yeah, go get Kyle Allen, put him in your lineup, play him against this Dallas Cowboys defense. They're reeling right now. Go pick up the Washington football team offense and play them against Dallas. And for my defensive player, I'm going with another Washington football team football player, and that's Montez Sweat. He has 4 sacks on the year. This Dallas team is in shambles. If you're on the bye week and you're looking for a fill-in guy, Montez Sweat is not out there, or is out there on the waiver wire. Go pick him up. Jonathan Allen's out there. Go pick him up. Ryan Kerrigan is out there. Go pick him up. Chase Young's probably not out there, but go pick him up. This offensive line is bursting at the seams. They're putting guys in, who don't have a lot of chemistry with each other. This Dallas team is a prime matchup to kind of help you with the bye week this week.
Great picks. I just look at that game in general. One of those teams, Dallas or Washington, is going to look a whole lot better than what they actually are. That much maligned Dallas Cowboy defense could look like world beaters next week. Kosher Killer, pick 2, my friend.
So I'm going to co-sign everything the commish said about Kyle Allen. I've had him on my radar. With that enticing matchup, Dallas's defense is not looking very sharp these days. Defensively, for my pick 2, I'm looking at Juan Thornhill, the safety for Kansas City. He was a little bit quiet, but he's been on the field for just about every single defensive play since week 1. He's facing a Denver offense that is banged up, that doesn't protect Drew Lock very well, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to make some plays, both crashing the line up against the Denver running game, but also playing in coverage. I think he's going to be able to make some plays against Drew Lock.
I think that's a good call as well. I scouted him today too. Big baller.
Just for whatever this means to our listeners, I'm just going to read Drew Lock's stat line from last week against New England. 24 attempts, 10 completions, 189 yards, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. Fire up somebody in that secondary, and shout out New England.
Drew Lock, I mean, he's going to be a great player. He's young, but, he's going to take
he needs
lumps.
a better offensive line.
They've got a lot of things going there. I don't think that offense looks like it looked like on paper in the offseason. One other thing to mention, Jerick McKinnon. Are we firing up Jerick McKinnon? I wonder how many owners dropped him last week.
Yeah, I know, huh?
Moser coming back, only to subsequently probably now have to drop some waiver points on him just to get him back. Very quickly, Kosher, talk to us about Jerick McKinnon, man.
Yeah, right now the 49ers are going to be doing running back by committee, but McKinnon is going to get his touches. Keep in mind the Niners are very okay with having their wide receivers be involved in the running game. And so that means that he's not only splitting touches with other running backs, he's also splitting carries with guys like Deebo Samuel. That said, that running back by committee, if you have a good stream play, he's worth taking. He is efficient when he gets the carries. He is going to get something with Mostert out. Question is just how much are they going to cut into him with guys like Deebo or Ayuk running jet sweeps?
Yeah, Jermichael Hasty.
Michael Hasty too.
Yeah, he got some burn the other night too. So yeah, it's actually you're spot on with that point with Deebo and Brandon Ayuk taking up some of those carries. I definitely expect that to happen.
Man, the way people are dropping in on the 49ers, man.
Might
want to go start scouting out the practice squad.
One more sneaky one. Defensive player, Jeremy Bates against Cleveland this weekend, playing like one of the best safeties in the NFL. He's having a fabulous year. Baker Mayfield is out there to be gotten. We've seen that already. He's kind of struggling, so Jesse Bates is another one you might want to keep your eye on.
All right. Let's keep that same energy, y'all.
Is it Kenyon Drake?
Last week night you called it. You called it with Brandon Cooks. We're going to give you your roses. We're going to give you your roses.
Thank you.
He absolutely kept that same energy, going 9 for 9 with 68 yards and a touchdown. Kosher, big baller. You guys are eating crow. And just my question to you guys, more specifically you, big baller. Did the train make it to Hollywood yet, or did you guys turn around?
The train started in Hollywood. It tastes exactly like the crow expected it, how I expected the crow to taste, and I run it back on the tape.
Semantics aside, big baller right. This week, I'm putting Clyde Edwards-Helaire up against DeAndre Swift. I'll start with Clyde Edwards. He's got Le'Veon Bell coming in. Does he keep that same energy of over 160 yards and 26 carries and over 20 fantasy points to DeAndre Swift with his 116 2-touchdown performance? Incredibly efficient, 30 points, I might add. He has Atlanta next week. I'll start with you, Kamish. This is a positional, keeping the same energy this week.
Both of these running backs had fabulous performances over the weekend. Won't be so much of a surprise. I'm going
complimenting Clyde Edwards?
I am complimenting Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had a fabulous game. You know, he was out there. I mean, I like rain games when they start to run the football and everybody. Yeah, it was a perfect game for all that. I applaud Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He did his thing. But I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift here. I mean, he gets Atlanta next week, which I feel like is a good matchup to kind of keep the train going. Clyde Edwards-Helaire get Denver next week, who is a pretty good defense. I just think that Kansas City is going to get back to tossing the football around next weekend. They kind of had to take the night off when it came to throwing the football. I believe Patrick Mahomes wants to get out there and throw a few touchdowns. So I'm going DeAndre Swift to keep that same energy, that Swift energy. I honestly, you know what? I'm DeAndre Swift moving forward over CEH, especially with Le'Veon Bell hopping on board. I like.
And the praise was short-lived.
I like DeAndre Swift.
Within one segment.
To keep that same energy.
Nah. It's almost like he was like, man, what am I saying? Coach, who you got, brother?
I got DeAndre Swift keeping that same energy. Atlanta's a decent team against the run. They're giving up about 4 yards a carry. They've allowed 5 touchdowns on the ground. I think DeAndre Swift can find the end zone against them. Right about now, CEH owners and bakeries might be baking Andy Reid a whole bunch of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, hoping that Le'Veon Bell won't eat too much into those running back shares. I don't expect Le'Veon to be the RB1, especially not right away. But I do expect him to be worked into the running back rotation a little bit as he learns that Kansas City offense. I think Swift keeps that energy. I think that the CEH situation is going to be something to keep an eye out in terms of how they're going to use him and Bell.
All right, 2 for D Swift. Please tell me you're playing devil's advocate. Big baller. Who's keeping that same energy?
You already know. It's going to be CEH coming through this week. I'm not terribly worried about Le'Veon Bell, and I got a reason for it, too. A little bit of what I saw from Darrell Williams, it looked like they ramped him into a little bit of a role. I don't think that role is Darrell Williams. I think that 31%, 41% snap share is easily what you can slot Le'Veon Bell into without him taking away from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, you think about, well, Le'Veon might be taking that touchdown upside, but so far this season, CEH hasn't had touchdown upside. Let's be honest, guys. He's got 1 on the year. It came week 1 on a big run. That's the same touchdown upside he's going to have with the entire rest of his 68% snap share that he's had every single other game this season. If he drops into a 60% snap share, big play upside for a touchdown is still there. Plus, the majority of the carries are still coming to him. If you involve Le'Veon in the passing game, that only makes this offense a little bit more potent. I'm not scared of that. Run me back with CEH this week.
Hey.
I think they made their statement game, you know, like I said, CEH was out there running angry. I think it's a big Patrick Mahomes game, man. I think they're going to go light the Broncos up. It's all right. You're on the Swift train.
All right.
Choo-choo.
You guys are getting swifty with it.
Yeah.
All right. All right, the picks are in. And that does it for us this evening in our Week 6 recap, Week 7 primary. We ran through the 6 of our woes. We took the train to Hollywood. The continental breakfast was okay. Final thoughts. Coach.
We checking the time now as we run through, right? We checking the time now, right? It's 2 a time.
2 a time.
You know what?
Hey, I'm on Missouri time.
I will.
Final thoughts, guys.
I will. For all the Michael Thomas and Christian McCaffrey owners out there, Christian McCaffrey's probably a week out. I feel your excitement. You're getting your number 1 draft picks back. That should be a big boost. Good luck with that. But you're going to have to manage these bye weeks. Washington football team. Go pick those guys.
Love for the Washington football team.
Yeah. You hear they're keeping
Coach,
that name?
That's not even seen in Washington.
Big baller, any final thoughts, sir?
Sam Darnold needs to come in on a chopper and actually play a game for me.
Man, can we talk about that real quick? Bro, are they trying to – I honestly feel like low-key they're trying to trade him. I'm sorry to get into a big conversation. I think they're trying to trade Sam Darnold. I think they're trying to trade Sam Darnold. Final thoughts? They're trying to trade Sam Darnold.
At this point, if you're Darnold, do you mind?
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show this evening. I just want to give some special shout outs to our viewership. All you guys tuning in week after week. It means the world to us. You guys make sure you keep liking it. You keep commenting. Make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified of all our drops. For myself, for Coach Killer, for Nye, that's Ian spelled backwards, man. We're Select Start. A shout out, Sleeper. We're out of here. I'm going to do the
Fifth flow.
woes. You know how that should go.